welcome to Human Biology here at Chaminade University. This is Biology 105, and it's been developed for the FLEX program. So we will not have any specific meeting days or meeting hours. All of your course materials will be completed online through the use of YouTube videos, the Canvas platform, and a platform called Top Hat, which we will introduce in just a moment. So here I have, this is the syllabus that we're going to be going over. You'll have access to this online. Obviously, you have access to it since you've already accessed it. But anyway, welcome. Here's my information. This is my email. Please take note of both my email and my cell phone number here because you'll need to send an email to me twice throughout the semester. The first email you'll be sending me will be once you have outlined the timetable for your completion of course requirements. That's due by the end of the first week. So once you have submitted that, I want you to shoot me an email and ask me to take a look over it. And I'll either go, that looks great, or I think you're missing something. More than likely, it'll be just fine, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of when you expect to be finishing your work. And then, of course, the second email will be when you have completed all of your work and you're ready for me to go ahead and make sure that I've graded everything and submit your final grade into the registrar. So again, 2 emails to make sure that you keep track of that. If you have any questions throughout the semester, you can text me at this phone number at any point, or you can set up an office, a meeting for our office hours, quote unquote, which will be a Zoom meeting, and you can just send me an email and we'll set up a good time to chat that works for both of our availability. If you scroll down through the syllabus, you'll see the next thing that we see here. It's going to be the course catalog description. For both the course and the lab, you'll be taking them together. So the course is human biology, and it's going to talk about the human structures, functions. We're going to delve into genetics, evolution, and then a little bit of environmental and ecological interactions. The overview is to make sure that the student is well informed and able to use scientific reasoning to make decisions about human biology in the real worlds. And then human laboratory is going to be, human biology laboratory, apologies, that's going to be taken concurrently to the class, and it's going to be a different shell in your Canvas, but you're also going to be completing it at the same time. And then once you have completed both 105 and 105 lab, by the end, my expectation is that you'll be able to use your terminology appropriately when we're relating to human anatomy and physiology. We'll also be able to identify certain anatomical structures and certain organ systems. So not everything, but some of the main characters and the ones that are playing the serious role in your organ systems. We'll talk about physiological functions in the organ systems. We're going to talk about homeostasis quite a lot. So you'll hear me talk about homeostasis throughout the semester many, many times, which basically just means keeping things within normal parameters, not too hot, not too cold, right? And then we'll talk about feedback loops, which are used to control these homeostatic parameters. And so we'll talk about them and how they're used to control physiological systems. We'll talk about anatomical and physiological relationships in organ systems. And we will use many different laboratory procedures. Now, you guys probably aren't going to be using these procedures in person. We're going to have several virtual options for you to be walking through, but I do expect that you'll be able to understand how these laboratory procedures work and perhaps explain some basic functions of the different steps that will be used to be able to evaluate physiological functions. And then we'll also be talking about what happens on the cellular level. So talking about DNA and how DNA makes RNA and how RNA makes protein, etc., and how human metabolism is regulated on a cellular level. And then I'd also expect that through the lab section, at least, you'll be able to create and interpret graphical depictions of physiological data. Okay, and so here's some of the lab learning objectives. Don't worry, you'll get your own little lab introductory video. But this is going to talk about many things that we'll be covering in the lab, including cellular transport, basic microscopy. Of course, anatomical terminology is something we'll be working on both in class and in lab. The different organ systems that we're going to be talking about in our body. I want you to describe all the different anatomical parts and some of the physiology of the major organ systems. And then, of course, we'll talk about safe practices and procedures within the laboratory. And then we'll talk about the major bones. It says here identify all major bones. I won't expect you to identify all of them, but many of the major bones I do expect you to be able to identify, as well as the muscles and muscle groups. So I know it seems like a lot, but don't worry, I'll hold your hand throughout the semester, and by the end, you'll be surprised by how much you've learned. All right, I do want to remind you that we are a Marianist institution. And a Marianist institution has 5 core principles that we like to uphold. The first being that our education is faith-based, so formation in faith. We also provide an integral quality education, educate in our family spirit, educate for service, justice, and peace, and also educate for adaptation and change. We also are a strong advocate for Native Hawaiian values. And let's talk here about the course prerequisites. So there are no prerequisites for this class. There is a required learning material, and so this is going to be something you may not have dealt with before, but perhaps some of you have. It's an interactive textbook. That means that your quizzes are actually going to be inside of a virtual PDF document. And I have here highlighted a course join code in yellow because you're going to be getting your own course join code. But in just a second, I'll pop over to the Top Hat platform and you can see what you're going to be looking at while you're there. It says you have to attend every class, but really what I mean by that is listen to the YouTube lectures and follow along with the reading material that's going to be supplemental online. Make sure that you have actually read through the material in the textbook before starting the video lecture. That way you'll know what I'm talking about and it won't be just a bunch of nonsense washing over you. This is going to be a pretty demanding course. I know it's a 100 level class, but we're going to take a lot of time and go over some pretty major systems. It's kind of like a miniature version of anatomy and physiology. So you're going to need to have some good study skills. And also you're going to need to actually make some time, so carve some time out in your schedule to be able to keep up with the Top Hat material in order to attain a passing grade. So make sure you get yourself a schedule planner and try to plan ahead to make sure that you have enough time to complete the work within your particular parameters, right? And while it says here keep up with the schedule, remember this is a flex program, so if you find that you're falling behind, all you have to do is reach out to me and say I'd like to alter my course schedule to give myself an extra couple of weeks, and obviously that's going to be not a problem. Let's talk about grading. So there are 3 major exams. The exams are going to encompass, so there's 9 modules total, they're going to encompass 3 modules each. So we'll have modules 1 through 3, which is essentially 6 chapters, if you will. And then modules 4 through 6, same thing, 6 chapters. And then modules 7 through 9. These are all going to be worth 24% of your grade, 60 coming in around 60 points total. The reason it says 56 questions is because some questions are going to have multiple different sections, and basically it's still going to be 1 point per question, but some of them will have like an A and B, etc. So it's just split up kind of funny, but don't worry, there's still 60 points, 60 questions essentially. Your homework is going to be all of your Top Hat activities. So I know it's going to seem like while you're going through it that it's very tedious, but it's actually going to count for 20% of your grades. This is a really easy way for you to boost your scores. So make sure that as you're going through your Top Hat, you're actually taking the time to look up the answers to questions you don't know. Don't just guess, because this is actually going to be something that's going to be really beneficial, hopefully, to your grade. And then last but not least, all of your Canvas activities, you're going to have some community practice posts. You're also going to have to send me your schedule with welcome into introductions to some of the other students. You've probably already looked through this since you found this video, which would be at the beginning of Module 1. But all of your Canvas activities are going to be about 8% of your total grade as well, giving us a total of 250 points. All of your grade is basically the total of those points divided by, or there's sum of your points divided by 250, which is the amount you're able to get total. And then we're working on a 10-point scale, so 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, etc. Okay, so that's going to summarize basically the syllabus. Then we're going to move on to the course schedule. There's some other things I want to point out here. If you're having troubles with Canvas, there's some technical assistance you can contact. If you're having problems with writing, which I know my class is not going to be very heavily writing based, but some classes are, we also have tutoring and writing services for you to go ahead and connect with. For some of the course policies, so the late work policy doesn't really apply to the Flex program. Basically, just make sure that all of your missing work is in before you send me that email that says, hey, I'm finished with the course and I'd like you to compile my grade. If you do hit that 6-month mark, however, you might have to reach out to me for an incomplete. We do offer incompletes for students only if you've completed at least 50% of the class assignments. And we like to keep it to students that have extenuating circumstances, so hopefully this won't be you, but if you do have a problem, just reach out to me and we'll make sure that it works. You're going to get 90 extra days. That's only 3 months, but I need you to get that work in by the 75-day mark to give me about 2 weeks to fill out all the paperwork and make sure your grade is updated, etc., with the registrar. So aim for the 75-day extension mark if you're going to ask for a grade of incomplete. Again, you also have to make sure that you've completed half of your class assignments before you can request this. I've already told you this. This is my email. Make sure that you save this email. You can reach out to me at any time via email, but make sure that you reach out to me at least twice. Once to tell me, hey, I'm enrolled in the class, and here is my tentative course schedule for the semester. And then secondarily, or at least ultimately when you're finished, hi, I've completed the class, and I'd like you to go ahead and take a look at and enter my grade. Okay? This is talking about your cell phones and etiquette, etc. Feel free to read over that and the ADA and Title X stuff on your own time. Attendance policy obviously is not very strict, right? You're not actually attending class, so just make sure that you do keep up with all of your coursework both online, on Canvas, as well as in the Top Hat section. All right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the course outline. All right, so this is our course schedule. And again, this schedule is going to be at your own leisure. So you get to choose and how you're going to be biting these off. You're going to be able to see one module at a time. So the first one that you'll have access to is Module 1. You're obviously already here in our Welcome Syllabus Overview and Introduction, which is what I'm doing right now. And then the next section will be our 1A. I've been calling this 0 because it doesn't count for any actual credit, but I do hope that you've taken the time to listen to the video because it will help orient you for the rest of the class. So the first module is split up into module 1A and 1B. 1A is an introduction to biology, anatomy and physiology, B being biological molecules. Module 2 is cells and tissues. Module 3, digestion and metabolism. So when we get to exam 1, it's going to cover modules 1 through 3, but as you can see, it's 6 what you would call traditional chapters. Okay, again, it's a 60-point exam. It's about 10 questions per section, right? So the next one's going to be Module 4, DNA structure and function, 4B, genetic inheritance. Module 5 is mitosis, meiosis, and cancer, as well as immunity. Module 6 is going to cover skin and the skeletal system. And then we're going to have exam 2. Same thing, 60 questions, 6 chapters, 10 questions per. Module 7 is going to do the muscular system and the nervous system. Module 8, cardiovascular and respiratory systems. And Module 9, urinary and reproductive systems. That's going to be our last exam. There is no final per se, as in there is no cumulative final. There's only going to be 3 separate exams that cover modules, 3 modules at a time. Again, that's 6 chapters. When you have finished the course, please make sure that you email a message of course completion here to this email address. That's how I know that I'm going to have to scamper over and make sure that I can check your grades. All of these grades are going to be available to you automatically. The computer will grade them, so as soon as you finish an exam, you will get an immediate grade for your assignment. So you'll know pretty well how you stand by the end of the semester. So just make sure that you reach out to me just to say, hey, I've completed all the course assignments. It's time for you to enter your grade. Okay, so that summarizes, I'm going to close this document down, that summarizes our syllabus and course outline. And now I'd like to take you over to the Top Hat lobby. So if you've never been here before, you're going to have to register and assign your course. You will get a course code. See, each one of my courses here has a course code. That will be posted to Module 1, so don't worry. I know right now it's kind of up in the air, but that's because we're working on trying to get a flexible setup. All of these are set up to start and end at a particular time. And of course, your setup is not going to be like that. But don't worry, they're working on it. But let me show you what you're going to see when you pop in here. So here's Human Biology 105. So once you've set everything up and you've gotten your access, which you will have to pay for, I believe it's about $100 for the year, maybe a little bit less for the 6-month time frame. I don't know how long you're going to need it. But once you've gotten everything all set up, you're going to be able to see that some things are assigned as reading material and other things are assigned as homework material. So what you're seeing in yellow is going to be reading material. For example, I would never test you on the copyright or the table of contents, etc., right? But now when we hop into Module 1, which is going to include 2 units basically, Unit 1A and Unit 1B. So let me take a look at Unit 1A for you. So this is where you're going to find the PowerPoint slides. You'll obviously also have access to these in the modules on Canvas as well. They should be exactly identical, if not have minor changes between the two. And then you will also have access to some this is the actual text itself. The textbook itself is interactive. So you will be able to scroll through, read, you can click on any of these links, you can hover over things that you don't know what they are, so you can get definitions of any of these blue words, and then you'll get a couple of questions where you have to click and drag, matching certain things with each other, right? So in this case, biology would be the study of living things, so it will be 2A. Anatomy would be the study of structures, and physiology, the study of the functions of the structures, right? So you would just pull those over, and then that would give you a quick assessment. And so as you go through, you're going to have small little questions that kind of pop up that help engage you in the reading material, as well as links that'll take you to outside sources, as well as definitions that you can kind of hover over. So it's kind of cool. The other thing that's neat is that for me, I can see if you have a question, you can highlight and you can put a question mark in, and then I can say, many students have highlighted this one section and have a problem. Maybe I should add more information, or maybe I should kind of maybe not highlight it as much on the test because clearly it's not something that's well put together there, right? So just reading through here, you're going to have a couple of questions you can click through. Please don't just do this willy-nilly because these are graded and they will count to 20% of your final grade. So this is basically a really easy way for you to make sure that you should be getting all of these right, right? If you don't know the answer, scroll back up because the answers are right here, or going to be just a couple chapters, a couple paragraphs behind. All right, so in addition to the actual reading for each section, you're going to have a pre-test. It should not be very difficult. And again, these are open books, so make sure that you look up the answers. If you don't know, do not guess because these are all going to be graded and it should be an easy A for you. So look up the answers for the pre-test and the post-test. And then we're also going to have some concept review questions. These are not graded. These are typically going to be open-ended, and I don't really have the ability to grade these properly. So these are going to be for you to kind of read through and see if you understand, but are not actually going to be graded. So they're considered to be reading material as well as your PowerPoints. All right. Everything else, however, everything in red is going to be something that's actually graded. Okay. So that's how you're going to work your way through each one of these modules. Each module, again, is going to have the pre-test, the reading, and the post-test that's graded, and then we're going to have access to, obviously you should be doing this first, we have access to the PowerPoints, as well as the concept review questions, and then of course we also are going to have these YouTube videos, which will be in each of your modules as well, that I'll be able to give you an overview of the actual lecture itself. So I'd like you to do the reading in advance, and then go ahead and listen to my YouTube videos so that we can kind of help reinforce the material. All right, so that's going to go ahead and end this video here. It got a little bit longer than I thought. But anyway, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to my human biology class, and I can't wait to hop right into Lecture 1. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. Aloha and goodbye.